Western Ultimate League's Open Side. I'm your host, Megan Tormey, and in this, our fourth episode, we will be chatting about working athletes. And here to talk about their professional lives that they maintain alongside being professional athletes, I am joined by Sarah Stoller from the Utah Wild, Cynthia Thomas from the Arizona Sidewinders, and Allison Webster from Los Angeles Astra. Ladies, thank you for being with us.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
So to start things off, I am super excited to hear about what you do and would love to know why you love what you do. And Sarah, I will start with you. Tell us what it is you do and why you're so passionate about your work.
Well, I'm a family doctor outside of Boise, Idaho. I work at a community health center, and I really do love what I do. I feel really passionate about our mission, which is to serve everyone. And no matter your ability to pay, what language you speak, where you're from, we care for everybody. I love family medicine because I really get to see the full spectrum of life. And I deliver babies, I take care of grandmas and grandpas, and get to take care of a lot of women during their pregnancy, and then do a lot of women's health. So it's a fascinating thing to think about every day, and I'm honored by all the stories that people share with me and trust to me. And it's nice to feel useful and just also know that it's lifelong learning, never a dull moment. I'm always learning new things, and it's a wonderful, more than just a job, it's definitely a vocation.
And Sarah, at what point did you realize that this was your calling, that this was what you wanted to pursue?
Unfortunately, after college. I wish it had been during college because that would have been a little bit of an easier road. I think because my parents thought it was a good idea, I decided it wasn't. But I went into service in the nonprofit sector and worked for a private foundation in Colorado and learned a lot about the different nonprofits in Colorado. Volunteered at a hospital, and I think the first day I was there, I shadowed a labor and delivery nurse and saw a baby being born and thought it was the most magical thing I had ever seen in my whole life, and was immediately like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So it really fuses my passion for science and service and just lifelong learning.
Cynthia, what about you? What is it that you do during the day, and what gets you so excited about your job?
So I am a deputy county attorney in Maricopa County, Arizona. I more shortly am a criminal prosecutor. What gets me excited about my job is, as much as I do like the legal aspect of things, reading police reports, kind of figuring out puzzles and solving problems. What gets me excited about my job is now we have kind of more of a community outreach aspect to what we do. I get to kind of speak to people, victims of cases. I'll do conferences with defendants of cases and kind of see what's been going on in their lives, how we get to where we got to, talking to them about maybe things that they don't know about the criminal justice system, how to stay out of the criminal justice system, and kind of negotiating what's best for everybody in the community. So it gives me an opportunity to kind of feel like I'm making an impact in my area, either making my community safer, but then also gives me an opportunity to really connect with some people and figure out how to solve some problems in my area as well.
And when did you realize this is what you wanted to do?
So I think always in the back of my mind, there's been like some part of me that's wanted to do something with law. Be it at a young age, I kind of like to argue, and being in a courtroom is a little bit of argument and dramatics. So I kind of have a little bit of fun with that on both sides. But I do come from kind of a more law enforcement related background. I've got a couple of uncles who were either sheriffs. I have one uncle and a cousin who were both lawyers. So it's always kind of been around, but my being in the prosecutorial area kind of came probably around just midway through undergrad. So, but I've kind of stuck with it since then.
And Allison, tell us your job and why you love it.
Yeah, so I work as a pharmacist at Kaiser Permanente Panorama City, and I'm working as a vacation coverage pharmacist right now. So I cover various clinics, from an oncology infusion center clinic to a transitional care center clinic where we help transition patients who have just been discharged from the hospital. We work with Medicare patients, elderly patients, doing medication reviews. And I feel really lucky because it's so rare to find a job that you enjoy going to every day, and I feel lucky that I've really found that for myself. I'm really passionate about just helping other people in general, and I think that's along with continuing my learning, and there's always something new to learn in medicine and in medications. So those two things, the helping people and like Sarah alluded to, the lifelong learning, those two are like really why I'm passionate about what I do.
And when did you decide this was the path that you wanted to pursue for yourself?
So I actually discovered that I wanted to be a pharmacist when I was a senior in high school. So I was really young and I was lucky to have gone through college knowing what I wanted to do. But someone told me that it was a really good career opportunity for females, especially females that wanted to have a family at some point in the future, just because it has really good work-life balance. So I started looking into it. We had to do a research project our senior year of high school on some career. So I learned a lot about pharmacy through that project. And then when I was at UCLA, I started volunteering at a local pharmacy at the VA, and everything just clicked. My personality fit in really well with the workflow and everything there. So everything after that's history.
And these are all obviously professions that you maintain alongside being an athlete in Ultimate, and an athlete whose caliber is high enough that you were able to make your respective professional teams. So let's talk a little bit about how you got into Ultimate initially and what made you decide to commit to it so wholeheartedly. And Cynthia, I have to start with you because I never thought that I would meet such a kindred spirit. You used to be a band nerd, much like me, and yet Ultimate weaseled its way into your life. Tell us the story.
So I played trumpet in my high school marching band, and my sophomore year, our band was selected to participate in the state Fiesta Bowl. And so whenever we do the Fiesta Bowl, it'll be a home state band along with an out-of-state band. We'll spend the day before the actual event practicing with the other school's band. And this particular band came from Iowa, and I guess they were big into ultimate frisbee. So we ended up having a break at part of our practice, and they invited us to play. And everyone from my band who played loved it, and loved it enough that it became kind of our high school band's like bonding event every weekend and stuff. So by my junior year, we had an unofficial ultimate frisbee team, and by my senior year, we had an official ultimate frisbee team. A bunch of people from that point kind of went on to local state colleges and told us that they had ultimate frisbee teams at some of these schools. So then when a handful of us graduated, we went directly to college seeking out more ultimate frisbee opportunities. And I guess it just stuck with me.
But this could have remained a fringe activity that you did externally to your music. What exactly was it about this sport that made you commit more and more time and dedication to it?
Yeah, so after leaving high school and after starting in college, I kind of realized how fun and unique the ultimate community is. I've played a bunch of sports growing up, and I've never really found a community that's more welcoming than the ultimate community. It's also a great balance of fun and competitiveness, and especially with me having my profession being law and kind of contentious and stuff, I found it as a very welcoming and great distraction to things that I'd been doing with my workload, my school load. So I also had a bunch of friends, like I said, who went from college or who went from high school to college, and it just allowed me to still spend some time with them, hanging out, having a bunch of fun, competing. It's just a great balance of everything that I was looking for in a sport.
Allison, I know you initially sought out something to make UCLA feel a little bit smaller, but you didn't know what ultimate frisbee even was when you first entered the scene. How exactly did they get you to come out to practice, and what did you think of the sport when you found out what it was?
Yeah, so I grew up playing basketball, and I was at the UCLA Activities Fair, just going down the rows and rows of tables looking for some sort of community to join. And someone came up to me and was like, "Oh, do you know about Ultimate? Are you interested in Ultimate?" And I thought it was some club about like ultimate sports, like if they played all the sports and it was going to be really fun. And I was so excited to join. And I went to the first meeting and I learned, okay, it's not what I thought it was, but I'm still sticking around. And what really captivated me was the positivity and the camaraderie of all the women on the team. And that made me come to the first practice. And my first practice, I was hooked. From basketball, my favorite part was seeing the court and passing the ball. And I think that's all of what Frisbee is. So that really translated well. And that was nice that my favorite part of my old sport helped me sort of transition into this new fun sport.
So when you thought it was a club appreciating the ultimateness of other sports, did you think that you would be playing other sports, or was it also a surprise that you had now found a really wonderful athletic outlet?
I did. I thought it was going to be playing all the sports, and that's what I was sort of looking for, something to stay active as well as have some sort of community.
Sarah, what about you? You saw Ultimate from afar while running sprints initially, and then that was that one experience of seeing it while you were suffering running sprints was what made you want to seek it out. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, yeah. I have played soccer since I was 5. I'm still obsessed with soccer, and we used to spend hours running sprints starting in January in the snow, in the sleet, and the Ultimate Frisbee Club practiced right next to where we were running sprints. And by my senior year, I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't how I want to spend my whole life. And that looks like so much more fun. And so I did have an opportunity to practice with the club a couple times when I was in high school. And I played in one game and kind of just lit the fire a little bit. I didn't totally get the game, I would say. But then in college, I had planned to play college soccer and kind of geared all my applications towards that, and then I got really burnt out my my senior year and decided not to play, and tried all sorts of different things. I tried water polo and soccer. I still played pickup soccer. I tried acting. I was in a horrible play. I tried rugby. I tried swimming. I tried field hockey, and then I tried Ultimate. And from the beginning, I think I was at the first practice of the women's club and just loved it. The team was so welcoming and so supportive, and I had some amazing teachers. And it was so different than the culture of every soccer team I had ever been on. And I was totally hooked pretty quickly. And those were some of my very best friends all throughout college.
So you all managed to balance your participation in Ultimate in undergrad, which is no small feat, but then you move on to pharmacy school, law school, med school, and certainly the workload becomes far more intense. How did you adjust and continue to balance your participation in Ultimate with your increasingly rigorous program? And Allison, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I went to pharmacy school at Loma Linda, and everything Ultimate related was in LA. So I just really had to prioritize and schedule out my time. I tried to do all my schoolwork during the week, and then on the weekends I could just drive to LA and really focus on Ultimate practice for club or other activities like that, like workout pods or things like that. And for me, having that getaway and that separation really helped me focus more, I think. It was a nice outlet to have, social outlet, to have a physical outlet with exercise, and to have a competitive outlet. And that allowed me, when I returned to school, to continue studying, to be more focused. So to me, I sort of needed it, even though it took up more time. It ended up helping out in the long run.
Cynthia, you were captaining your college team your senior year and then immediately stayed at Arizona for law school. Am I correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Did you continue to captain your first year in law school?
I did. So I ended up staying on as captain. Also ended up helping to facilitate the the nomination of my co-captains and then the eventual vote to my co-captain. So I stuck around for all of that while, starting my very first year of law school.
What was that like? It is a huge responsibility to captain your team, and suddenly you find yourself in an even more rigorous, demanding program, and yet you still maintain a very high level of commitment to your Ultimate team. Why did you allow Ultimate to stay so central in your life as you went through this tougher transition?
So I think, kind of as Ali stated previously, I needed that outlet to kind of help me focus on my law school activities. So I think I also benefit from Arizona being a really hot state, and because it's so hot here, we have to have our practices be later at night. And what that allowed me to do was, on nights where I had practice, and we usually practice maybe twice a week for the fall season, and then we might move up to 3 times a week in the spring season. But what that would allow me to do is, if I knew I had Ultimate that night, I would just bring everything that I needed to do with me to campus that morning, stay on campus pretty much all day, work on getting stuff done well before practice. And then if I needed to do coaches meetings, I'm already there. I can just speed off, talk to my coaches, talk to my co-captain, and then immediately go from practice. So the idea being, I'm on campus for maybe 8 to 12 hours, but once I'm done, I'm completely done. And then I just started back up all over again.
Sarah, you worked for a couple of years after graduating undergrad before you settled on going to med school. What was your commitment to Ultimate like during the years that you were working?
So I worked for a private foundation in Colorado Springs, and it was actually pretty tough during that time. I was working 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, which sounded good getting out of college, but that's a big commitment with commuting. And I actually was a travel player, so I had to commute about an hour and a half my very first year of playing women's club, and I really had a tough time with it. I was also studying for the MCAT at that time, and being a travel player, it's really hard to get to know your teammates, especially if you're new and you miss a lot of social stuff. So I think that first year was pretty tough, but I moved to Denver for medical school the following year, and just, med school is a lot of work, but you really get to set your own schedule in a lot of ways. We'd have lectures from usually 8 to noon, and then small groups or labs, anatomy lab, that sort of thing in the afternoons. And there was actually quite a bit of unscheduled time where you could kind of manage your own schedule to study. And that was paradise for me compared to being in an office 8 to 5 where I had to sit in front of a desk and computer and go to meetings all the time. And so I thought it was much easier to work in Frisbee, especially because I didn't have to commute as far compared to working full-time. It was actually easier in medical school.
Did you go into medical school knowing you were going to continue to play Ultimate? And ultimately, it sounds like you had a little bit easier time doing that, but maybe you didn't know that beforehand. And yet, did you still say, I'm going to make space for Ultimate?
I certainly planned on it. I don't think I really knew what to expect. I loved medical school. I think I'm one of the only people that really did. But it was amazing to be in my vocation, whereas before that, for the 2 years before that, I learned a lot, but it wasn't the right fit for me. So I think it was, like Ali and Cynthia were saying, it was something that was a really important outlet for me, a stress relief, just a chance to expend that competitive energy, have that camaraderie, really push myself at something other, that something with my body, not just my mind, and that's always been important to me. So I think it got a lot harder as the years with rotations came, and then residency. It was much harder than I ever thought it would be, especially trying to fit in Ultimate. Even though I still did, it was kind of never fully present because I was tired or sleep deprived, or having to work with only 4 days off a month most of the time. So to be honest, compared to that, med school was a lot more manageable.
That was going to be my next question, is what were the tougher times in your program continuing to participate in Ultimate? Sarah and Allison, you both had residency to contend with. Cynthia, you had to study for the bar. Let's talk a little bit more about what it was like to try and fit Ultimate in during those times. And was there ever a time where you thought, I'm not going to be able to continue to play at the level that I really want to? And Allie, I'll start with you. Looking back on your residency, did you think I might have to give this up?
A lot of times. There were quite a few times when you just see the work in front of you and you haven't had a chance to fully dive into what you've committed yourself to in terms of the residency program. And you say, I don't know if I can do this. But then there's just something about the sport of Ultimate that it keeps me coming back, no matter how much it kills me or destroys me physically or mentally or sleep deprives me. Ultimate's still going to be a big part of my life. I think that's an attestation to the sport itself. I think Cynthia talked about it before with the camaraderie and the openness and the type of people you meet in this sport is truly unique. You don't get it in a lot of other sports. But yeah, during residency, we had every 6 to 8 weeks, we go on different rotations at different clinics. We were also assigned various projects throughout the year, so we'd have to keep up on our studies, be learning something new every month or two. For pharmacy, we also get a year-long research project. So we start that at the beginning of the year, and it culminates in a PowerPoint presentation and a poster presentation that we present along with all the Southern California pharmacy residents at the end of the year. So it was definitely a lot of work. And a lot harder than pharmacy school. I'm with Sarah. I did like pharmacy school a lot. Not probably the same as med school, but I definitely liked grad school a lot. And residency was much, much harder. But just something about Ultimate kept drawing me back and keeping me wanting to be involved. I probably wasn't as in good of shape as I could have been. I didn't spend as much time as I could have getting better at Ultimate and pushing my physical condition. But just to be involved somehow in the sport, it really meant a lot to me.
Sarah, you already gave us a little insight into maintaining Ultimate during your residency, but tell us a little bit more about what it was like to spend a week of work. I think you said you get 4 days off during a month, is that correct? So barely any sleep, barely any personal time, and yet you're still involved in Ultimate. What was it like to get on the field with your teammates or arrive halfway through a tournament and try and put forth your best athletic effort during this time? And did you ever think, I can't do this?
I would say it wasn't always pretty. Definitely remember getting off of a 30-hour shift and jumping on a plane and flying wherever and trying to get some sleep that night. I think my play definitely suffered, and that affected my role on different teams, but it never occurred to me to stop, maybe because I'm crazy or just obsessed. It just seemed so crucial to my mental health and my physical health and my social life, and it seemed like the residency was really what was getting in the way of the good stuff, the Frisbee. So I think it was very difficult. I had some amazing friendships that came out of that I keep in touch with and see. I hung out. I went dirt biking with my best friend from residency yesterday. So I think it was definitely trial by fire for all of us. But having that outlet outside of medicine was critical for me. I think there's so much heaviness and trauma that you see other people go through, and I think it's very difficult to leave it at the door. It's hard not to bring it home and to just get to be immersed in this culture where people don't care what I do. They don't want to hear about it. They just want to run around in silly costumes and play really hard and just have joy of competition and friendship is massive for me to have that escape.
And Cynthia, what about you during the more difficult parts of your program, studying through the bar, and then your early days as an attorney? Were there ever any moments where the work just seemed insurmountable and you weren't sure that you were going to be able to continue to play Ultimate?
Yeah, so bar prep and bar studies was probably one of the more clear times where I had to find out how to prioritize certain study materials, balancing ultimate, sticking to a schedule. At least the fortunate thing about bar prep studies is if you enroll yourself in a bar prep course, it's kind of like taking a very strict class where they go through guidelines of this is what you're going to learn at this time. This is what we're going to teach you at this time. You're going to take this quiz. Based on how you do, you'll either move on or you need to restudy certain materials. So, and I guess a little background about the bar. What makes it kind of a hectic thing to study for is there are 16 different areas of law. You don't know what's going to be on the exam, so you just need to study for all 16. You have to pretty much memorize different parts of those areas of law. Your first day is you take I take that back. I believe it's 6 short essays, and then you have 2 long essays after your lunch break. That's day 1. And then day 2, it's 200 multiple choice questions broken up, 100 questions for the first 3 hours and then 100 questions for the second 3 hours. So, like I said, you don't know what's going to be on the exam until you take it. So it's just study, memorize, a bunch of repetition. So that was always my thing where in the beginning of bar prep, it wasn't that bad. Most of the classes, at least for those essay classes, those are your prerequisite classes when you start law school. So those are things that we kind of drill over and over again. It was towards the end of bar prep when it's electives that you might not have taken or different niche areas of law that you might not really have paid attention to. Trying to study for those, trying to test on those. I would find myself getting super frustrated. And as time got closer to the bar exam, I'd have my moments where, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to practice tonight because I'm freaking out about trying to study for this. I lucked out where one person on my team that year had graduated from my same law school a couple of years before I did, had recently gone through exactly what I was going through. So I had someone I could really kind of talk to and relate to about what I was going through. So I don't think I really missed much practice time leading up to, at the very least, at least the week or 2 before. I definitely took that week off to just kind of decompress, focus on studying, and knock out the exam. But as everyone has mentioned, with Ultimate as a community, I had a lot of really positive people on my team, a lot of people I could bounce my issues off of or really talk to about like any stresses I was feeling. I had captains that were pretty understanding of where I was coming from. So I don't necessarily think for the most part, I would say, I guess my play didn't really suffer as much leading up to the exam itself. My mood might have fluctuated. I think I had to apologize multiple times prior to practice saying, hey, if I get moody, this is what's going on. Please forgive me. But no, I think definitely it was just trying to balance scheduling and at least being open enough to talk to my team about what was going on that really helped me get through everything.
Sarah, when you learned that the WUL was going to have a team within reach for you, what kind of shifts did you make in your life to make this possible?
Well, it was just a dream come true for me, for us here in our tiny little towns out in the West. I think I never imagined that it would come to Boise or anywhere near Boise. So I was like, well, whatever it takes. I'm definitely getting to that tryout and I'm doing whatever I can. And I train year round, so it was just another thing to get fired up about. Most of the Ultimate, there is a women's team here, but for many years it's been primarily co-ed is the only option. And so I played 5 years of women's Ultimate when I lived in Denver, and just the opportunity to play women's was just, I was so excited about it. So it didn't take much. I was like, well, that's number one priority right there. So we'll just schedule life around that. So we did some training here locally to get ready, which was really fun, and traveled down together. And it was just amazing I'm so blown away by the amount of thought and intention that has gone into Planning of the Wild and the mission and the service projects that they want to do. It's just an incredible organization to be a part of. And then I get to be teammates with people that I've competed against for many years and looked up to and battled with. So definitely huge priority for me. Like I said, scheduling everything else around it, because it's been amazing so far.
You all tried out, you all made your respective teams, and now you can say you are a professional athlete alongside your illustrious profession. What does it mean to you to have achieved so much in both of your passions, Cynthia?
It means a lot. Honestly, I didn't really know how high of a level I would be able to compete at in Arizona. I knew at the very least that I wanted to keep playing Ultimate even as my career got tougher. And I think at the very least with Arizona now having its own professional team that I can be a part of, I think what it means to me is that I can show that it is possible to be passionate about your professional career and your extracurricular career or passions. So it's something that I even like to talk about at work all the time. I've made a bunch of friends just by saying, hey, like, fun fact about me, I'm a professional Ultimate Frisbee player. Everyone's like, what? Let me tell you a little bit about my sport, and we'll just converse and things like that. So I think it just allows me to kind of feel like I can be a role model, or at least someone to look up to in my area, and I do value that a lot.
Sarah, what about you? I know you said it was a dream come true to find out that you were going to be able to participate in the WUL, but when you found out you made the team and realized that you had accomplished this, what did this mean to you?
Like you said, it was a dream come true. My original plan from the beginning was to be a pro athlete. I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So it only took like 25 years to realize that dream, but or maybe long, maybe 30, 35, something like that. So yeah, I'm incredibly proud. I feel so privileged, so lucky. I feel like having a vocation that gives me so much joy and so much meaning, and then to also have this wonderful athletic pursuit, it's mind-blowing, and I just feel so fortunate, and I want to do everything I can to not just make the team, but play a role, play a part as we write this story for women's athletes. I think it's such a powerful statement about the value of us playing professionally.
Cynthia, I know you already mentioned that you have talked to your colleagues about what you do, but participating in the WUL means that they will be able to watch you play your sport. What do you think your colleagues are going to think when they actually watch you as an Ultimate player?
So most of the comments that I already get when I say I play Ultimate Frisbee is, whoa, what's that? That sounds intense. So I think it'll be fun to say, yeah, this is exactly why it's intense. This is why I love it. This is what makes the sport awesome. Look at me compete. So I'm excited. Back when Wolfpack did exist, I did get to tease them a little bit with some promo videos. So I know I've got at least a few of them pretty interested in what the sport will hold. So I'm just excited to showcase the talents of the women involved in the WUL, and looking forward to having maybe some fans of our own. So.
Allie, what about you? Do your colleagues know that you participate in this sport? And if so, what do you think they'll think when they watch you on a stream?
Yeah, similar to Cynthia, you tell people you play Ultimate and they don't really know what it is, and you show them a video and they're like, wow, that's really intense. And you see someone in their professional life and you don't really think of them as this person who's sprinting on the field, diving after discs, getting up in someone's face. So it really shows a different part of you, which is really cool. I know that when I was in residency for the 99s, I definitely shared the tickets with them and shared the links with them to watch, and they were all super stoked, and just I think I gained a greater understanding of where I come from and what I mean when I say I play this ultimate frisbee and sort of why I put so much time and effort into that. It sort of gives them a better understanding of why I do that.
And Sarah, do your colleagues know this side of you? And what do you think they'll think when they watch their first stream?
They definitely know, because I'm always asking for time off to go to frisbee tournaments or tryouts or whatever. Been asking for time off to go to frisbee, med school, residency, so they all know. I don't think any of them really understand or get it, which is fine. I think it'll be really exciting because they're always, oh, I'd love to watch you play. What park do you play at? So I think it'll be really fun to be able to tell them to watch our teams live on TV or online. I'm excited about that. So they know why I'm spending all this time doing this thing that I love.
That's it for this episode of Open Side. Thank you for joining us as we discuss the alter egos of these three professional athletes. On behalf of the entire production staff here at the Western Ultimate League, and on behalf of my guests, Sarah Steller, Cynthia Thomas, Allie Webster, I'm Megan saying thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Open Side.